Hey everyone, so this is Elementary Season 5, Episode 3 called Render and Then Caesar. So basically, the episode, starts off with Gregson and Paige eating Chinese food in his office and, talking about stuff and, reading their fortune cookies and everything. Um, so after all that happens, um, she goes to see Sherlock about a case that she wants him to take on for her. Um, but before that happens, she starts bringing up her past and as a detective. Um, and then I mean, as we see later, he does eventually take on the case. But anyway. Elsewhere, a man is seen taking video of someone in a cabin or a house or whatever, and is about to send or sends the video or via text uh, when a guy or a person comes up and shoots him in the head. Elsewhere, back at um, the house, Sherlock brings a sack full of medical bills and insurance claims from a doctor named Jonas Keel, who is Paige's neurologist. Um, and she is concerned that um, some, criminal activity, like finance wise, is going on at the doctor's office. Because the people there have, started getting better clothes and um, more so than what they usually wear. Um, So that's what she wants Sherlock to investigate. Um, and then Marcus, texts Sherlock for Joan and him to meet him at a clothing optional retreat. Once there, they question Miss Murphy, and she tells him the guy from earlier, his name is Kenneth Tolan, and he has been coming there, for years, even before she started running the place. And he had sent her a he had sent her a video of Beth, um, but clearly Beth is not there anymore. Um, Marcus and Joan then go to Beth's husband Aaron's job and question him. And he says before she went missing, Beth brought, or while there, they figure out that before she went missing, Beth had brought some paperwork over to his work because he was sick and everything. And then that's when she had gone missing. Um, Everyone then looks at the surveillance footage of Beth's kidnapping, and Joan realizes the van most likely used to be a TV news van. Um, Sherlock then thinks three of the clerical staff, well, this is back at the house, he says that three of the clerical staff is double billing, and that Jonas has appears to have no idea any of this is going on. Um, when Joe notices that Sherlock seems more troubled, he reveals that when he had to start the investigation for Paige, he had to look at her file, and he realized that she was kicked off her plan. Um, she was kicked off her plan earlier that year, um, and had to start charging her credit card to pay for her medication because um, the checks she was writing were bouncing and everything. The next day, Marcus found the van via the Easy Pass, and the van is they find the van is torched. Joan then finds a disposable phone. Marcus, Joan, and Charlotte go to um, the Stone residence and tell Aaron that the disposable phone made 3 calls and they were all to him. Uh, so Joan's like, Normally he would be suspected for not bringing up this information before, but since he has been cooperating with the Nassau police or Nassau County police, he is not really being judged too harshly here. But they want to know why he didn't say anything about the phone calls before, but he doesn't say anything. Marcus then tries to ask more questions about the whole thing, and he still refuses to answer. Um, and before Sherlock, Joan, and Marcus leave, Sherlock tries to get Aaron to talk, but he still won't budge. Um, Sherlock then goes and questions Dennis Carrig, who is still Aaron's second in command or business partner, basically. Dennis says that Aaron hasn't told him anything, even though they were best friends. Sherlock says that Aaron consulted with a divorce attorney, and Dennis has no idea about that. Apparently, Sherlock then says that he is confused on whether Aaron wants to save money on alimony payments or not by letting the kidnapper kill Beth. But Dennis says that isn't true because he loves Beth, or at least had loved Beth. Um, Sherlock doesn't believe Dennis, and Dennis tells Sherlock he will tell Aaron Sherlock came around, but Sherlock's like, Dennis, Beth is your friend too, so why are you gonna just hinder the investigation? I mean, she's your friend too. I mean, since you're best friends with her husband, it'd be reasonable to assume that you're both, you and her are friends too. Anyway, so elsewhere, Joan was talking to this guy named Bruce Daniels who produces the commercials. Um, and she tells Sherlock that Bruce revealed a week ago he heard Aaron yelling on the phone about some 30-year-old footage, and he and someone else were processing, and it sounded like Aaron was using it to blackmail someone else. And since they won't get a warrant on the hearsay, Sherlock has Joan stall Marcus's interview so Sherlock can look at the footage. Turns out Sherlock takes the device the footage is on and brings it back home. And there he notices there's this footage of kids playing basketball, and in the background, someone is killing someone else. And it turns out it's the person being killed is this guy named Quentin Latham, who is this uh, uh, big time union leader, and he disappeared in 1987, and in 1989, his bones showed up on the doorstep on the local 127th precinct. The nephew of a mob boss named Denacio, um, has been the subject of many SEC investigations and is suspected of. It's pretty much his face that they see on the footage, so that they assume it's him who's doing it, who did it. Um, Sherlock then goes to tell Paige of what he found at the restaurant that they picked. Sherlock tells Paige what he found, says that he will give it to a friend of a friend in the DOJ, and Sherlock asks Paige what she intends for Gregson because he knows she is going broke. She's insulted, says she's not going to take money from Gregson if that's what he means, if that's what Sherlock means. Says he will send Sherlock a check in the mail, even though he took on Paige's case pro bono, and then tries to then basically sums out. Joan is there when Gregson arrests Nastio for Latham's murder, but he says Stone and Carrick came to him to ask if they could CGI his face onto into the video, and turns out what happened was uh, Ignacio and this other guy uh, uh, did CGI work, um, like put on CGI bodysuits, um, and kind of they did this, I guess you could say, reenactment, but it's not really reenactment if it's, I don't know. I mean, they don't know how he died and where he died, so or at least where Latham died, so they can't exactly say, can't really call it a reenactment, but that's kind of what it is. Anyway, so they kind of do this whole, physical fight, and and has Nasio, stab Lathan in the chest with whatever killed him, or what with this weapon, and then um, and everything. So it shows Dinastio and this other guy who's well and alive, kind of reenacting this, and that way they can CGI Latham's face onto the other guy that Dinastio was working with, and uh, and that way he could claim that he did it, and show it to his family and everything, and basically like the Nazi showed it to his family showed it to other people, and again, he said something along the lines of it going viral and stuff. So um so they don't really think that he killed Latham. Um, so they have to uncuff him, um, and everything. So Gregson and Joan then figure that someone took Aaron's wife, Beth, to ransom him, but didn't realize the guy was broke. Anyway, so elsewhere, Sherlock had a breakthrough on the case, and he thinks Dennis Carrick is the one who took Beth. And the contract Dennis signed doesn't even partially, doesn't give him partial ownership of the business. It basically, I think, gives him nothing, um, and that it will solely belong to Aaron. Turns out Dennis is a fan of playlists, and that song playing in the video, Kenneth Tug, is on Dennis's playlist. Marcus and Joan figured that Dennis used CGI to make himself appear taller, and they also figured he didn't distort his shape, that the sloped shoulders the guy has in the video are Dennis's. Sherlock then talks to Gregson about Paige's financial situation. Gregson says he already knows about it, um, and says Gregson, and then Sherlock suggests that Gregson should propose to Paige, but Gregson's like he doesn't, he wants to get married, but she doesn't because she had a bad first marriage, and so she doesn't want to go through that again. Um, Marcus and then Sherlock then go question Dennis, and he says it isn't him, and they reveal that Dennis bought a 22 caliber gun the month prior, and that he hatched his plan and all this stuff, and as Marcus continues questioning him, Gregson pulls him out of the interview because Beth has turned up at a diner a few miles away from the clothing optional retreat. Um, and Beth says that there were two kidnappers instead of one. So at the diner, Beth says that there were like Gregson was saying, there were two people involved, and they seemed Pakistani because she had a roommate who was Pakistani. Aaron says that the kidnappers wanted $3 million in cash, and non-sequential bills. After Beth is taken away to the hospital, Sherlock says Beth is lying, and fabricated evidence at the cabin. He also feels that Dennis is definitely the one who was in the video, and Beth is covering for Dennis because he is covering for her. And he says basically that she kidnapped herself. So Sherlock then later says that he figures that since there was a prenuptial agreement in place, and Beth would get little to nothing if they had divorced before 10 years had the 10 years had elapsed to where the prenuptial agreement expired, um, she would basically get little to nothing. And so she staged a kidnapping and asked for $3 million so that the time on the prenup would run out because she would get more than what she was promised in the agreement if they had divorced. Um, so basically about half, at least about half, if not more than that. Um, Charlotte tells Joan he petitioned for Gregson to get married to Paige, and before they start playing cricket inside the house, Sherlock sees footage of Beth on the news and realizes something about her breasts that proved that she was lying about everything. At the station, they reveal that only Beth was out in the woods. And they also revealed that Aaron was considering divorcing Beth uh, before uh, um, before Beth was kidnapped. Um, and consulted the lawyer on the prenup agreement. Since they don't know when it expires, they figured 10 years is the is a nice round number, and that it was pretty much uh, not just timing. I mean, it wasn't just a coincidence that just before the 10-year anniversary, she goes missing. So they figured she wanted to guilt her husband into staying until after the prenup expired. Uh, they say that Dennis is half the company. That she would get Dennis to have the company, and since they were she and Dennis were greedy, they were in on it together. So they and the reason they believe all this is because um, she had a tan on her breasts the night before, um, and it has since faded. So she, cops a plea so that she can flip on Dennis and everything. Um, and then that's the end of it. Paige is then in Gregson's office, and Charlotte tells Gregson that he managed to get Paige to agree to marriage. Um, so that's the whole episode, basically. And I just want to say that I figured that Beth was in on it. I figured Beth, had staged her own home kidnapping. I figured that's what she had done. Because, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like that's what they wouldn't do, is go the route of the husband having kidnapped her and decided to kill her because of um, whatever reason, because he didn't love her or he found out she was cheating or whatever. I figured it wasn't him. Like, I mean, it would seem too convenient that, that's what would have happened. I mean, I don't know. I mean, based off of the little information that we got at the end of last episode, and everything. So I don't know. Something was inside me was just telling me that the girl that Beth had staged a kidnapping and everything, and that she wasn't really kidnapped. Um, so it seemed that's what it seemed had happened, because it's just like, I don't know, it just seemed way too convenient. I don't know, just something in my bones telling me that that's what was the case. Turns out I was right. Happy that my prediction came true. Because usually my predictions are kind of like, hit or miss a lot of the time. Mostly miss. So, um, anyway. So, I am glad that Gregson is getting married. Or potentially getting married. I mean, I don't know if it's actually going to go through with it, but it seems like it's going to happen 100% anyway. So I'm glad to see Gregson, getting, happiness and romance and all that. Now, as far as Marcus goes, can we get something on that front or something? Because I'm like, this dude, I think he's maybe had like one relationship on the whole show. I think maybe, I don't remember, but something like I mean, you don't see him have a romantic relationship all that much, if any. So I'm like, can we get something for Marcus here? Because the dude's all lonely and stuff. I mean, maybe that's just by choice or something. I don't know, but can we get some explanation on the romance front as to why he's not in a relationship or something? Like, just give us something, please, like, because I'm just like, I mean, anyway. So, anyway, next week on Elementary, there's a murder that has taken place. Big shocker there. Um, but the motive seems to be out of this world, apparently. Meaning something has something to do with outer space and or planetary stuff, or I don't know, something in outer space. Excuse me. Uh, so I'm not gonna make any predictions, especially based off of the preview. That I mean, we didn't get much, so I am not gonna make that any predictions for next week. Um, Now, as far as like long-term predictions, I'm thinking Gregson is gonna get married or is gonna finalize the wedding plans because I don't think they're gonna elope. I don't. I mean, as even though Sherlock said that they could elope, basically, uh, in this episode, I don't think they're going to elope. I think they're gonna have a nice simple wedding with Joan, Marcus, and Sherlock there. Just a small gathering with those three people, maybe a little bit more people with family members on either side, um, and then have like just a small intimate wedding. And I think that's what they're gonna end up doing. And I think that they're gonna, if they don't do it, like don't have the wedding by the winter finale, they're going to have it happen after the have it happen by like the actual season finale. So that's what I think for at least long term predictions go. So that's all I have for this episode. Uh, And I will see you guys next week on Elementary. Since it's not going to be taking off a week again like it did for the second episode. So I'll see you guys next week in Elementary. And uh, have a happy Halloween because I'll be recapping and reviewing the episode on Halloween next week. So, um, and so, in case I forget to say next week, have a happy and safe Halloween, please. Don't do anything stupid. Don't get drunk and so plastered that you can't fucking see your own hand in front of your face. So just have a safe and happy Halloween if I forget to say it next week. Hopefully I won't, but just in case if I do, like I said, have a safe and happy Halloween, as well as with your kids if you have any. And I'll see you next week in Sherlock. Or not Sherlock, Elementary. Wrong show. Sorry. Bye.